While many people are counting the Colts out or already ruling them as underdogs, and some, this article even says, are regression candidates, I think there's reason to be hopeful for all the Colts are going to be able to do in year two of Shane Steichen, year two of Anthony Richardson, and the comeback of guys like Jonathan Taylor. What's going on? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And I think that there's been a lot of speculation about what the Colts are going to be able to do. But this tweet from Warren Sharp came out and really, I think was surprising. This brings me back to like a vintage Indianapolis Colts. This stat here from year one of Shane Steichen. If you remember, this was like the buzz for a long time. Was that when Peyton Manning was the quarterback for the Colts? There was a lot of times where we saw the no huddle. We saw in almost every single play was the no huddle. And it was alarming. It threw off the tempo of the defenses. It threw off all of these things. And yet, it was something that Manning knew very well. And it was expected that the receivers and the offensive line just knew what to do. And that there was a list that he would call 3 plays in the huddle and then run, a variation of those 3 plays. Last year, the Indianapolis Colts went from one of the last in the league of no huddles to number one in the league of no huddle rates. This is an incredible jump, but you might be saying but what is that? That's one in every 6 plays was a no huddle play. Now it's going up against guys like Patrick Mahomes, guys like Lamar Jackson, guys who are kind of known for throwing off the tempo of the game. And yet the Colts were number one, but they weren't just number one in that field. They were number one while also being the number two best offense in no huddle, averaging 6.23 yards per play when they ran the no huddle. So that to me is signs of improvement, signs of significant improvement from the year before, because not only are they doing it better, but or not are they doing it more, but they're doing it significantly better. So that's not the only thing that I think the Colts really improved on last year. And obviously, the season before was the 2022-2023 NFL season. It was a regrettable season. It was full of so many disappointments. But one of the main ones was the lack of efficiency, and really like the injuries of Jonathan Taylor. And you just saw a lot of that in the season. But one thing the Colts also did last season, in a season where, like, honestly, it was kind of doomed, not from the start, but by week 5, Jonathan Taylor had just come back, and as he's coming back, Anthony Richardson goes out for the year. And so you kind of expect that the Colts weren't going to be able to do anything successful last season. And yet, they went from a staggering average of 17 points a game to 23.3 points a game, including over 25 points per game at home. This opponent adjusted offense output ascended the Colts offense into the top 10 in TSI offensive rating. Now, not only that, but one thing that was heavily criticized in last season was the Colts defense. Rightfully so, they gave up 24.4 points a game, but that was actually an improvement from the 2022 season where they gave up well over 25 points a game. Despite the improvement, the TSI defensive rating was bottom 3 in the league. They were 19th in EPA per play on defense, down from 13th in 2022. They're 16th in EPA per dropback. That is terrible. Let's admit that. But where did the Colts devote the most attention and time and money this offseason? And let's look at the roster transactions. From the start, let's pull this up so we can all see it together. From the start, this is January. They promoted Juwan Winfrey. They waived Tony Brown, re-signed Darrell Baker, all this stuff. But let's look at what the first moves they did. They placed Michael Pittman on a franchise tag. They signed Rigoberto Sanchez. They re-signed Kenny Moore to a 3-year deal. And then they signed Ronnie Harrison. They signed Roquan Davis, signed Danny Pinner, signed Joe Flacco. Then they signed Taven Bryan to a contract. Then they re-signed Justin Blackmon. They re-signed DeForest Buckner. And then it doesn't show here, but they exercised their 5th-year option on Kwity Paye. And then obviously you see, we all know what happened in the draft where 4 of their picks went to the defense. They went defense, offense, because they then got Adonai Mitchell, Matt Gonzalez, and Tanner Bortolini. But then they went back defense, with the Jalen's and then Micah Abraham. And then obviously they had Anthony Goal as well. But you look at all of that, and then they signed Clay Fields, which I still think Clay Fields has got, he's kind of got this like underdog mentality. At least, I mean, he was undrafted, but Clay Fields has a chance to be something really, really special. I'm really excited to watch that, as well as some of the other undrafted free agents. But you see here, and it doesn't even say here the Zaire Franklin extension. But the Colts devoted a majority of their resources this offseason to keeping the guys who were consistent, but also a big part of their, like a majority of their whole offseason plans were devoted to the defense. Specifically, we look back at this article that talks about the TSI and talks about the Colts defense, and they were only 19th on defense and 16th in estimated or an EPA per dropback. So they're bottom half in the league in all of these things, and they were down from 13th in 2022. So they were 13th in the league in EPA per play, and they dropped down to 19th. The Colts clearly saw what the need was, and the need was to get a healthy secondary, which I feel like they need to get a free agent signing. Justin Simmons is still out there. There's still plenty of guys out there. We obviously just saw Jamal Adams go to the Titans. Hate that again, but I digress. All of this to say, the Colts focused on what was important. Their secondary was wildly injured last year. To getting guys like Dallas Flowers back, getting Juju Brents. I'm a Juju Brents believer. I do believe this guy is going to be really, really good. I'm also a Nick Cross believer. I think Nick Cross is a legit shot at being the free safety. Justin Blackmon, if he's able to stay healthy, this is a team that I think has really, really good young core on defense. I've said it time and time again. I feel like every video we have some sort of nod to reassuring the fans of Colts Nation that this defense is good and is going to be very good. And they have a very tough schedule. But I think with bolstering up the defensive line, you got Samson Ebukam for another year. You got Kwity Paye for another 2 years. You've got now DeForest Buckner for another 4 years, Grover Stewart for another 3 years, Roquan Davis for another year or two. I can't remember what that deal was. But then you also bring in guys like the Jalen's. You bring in guys like Leatu Latu, obviously one of the most dynamic. I mean, the comparison was made today of Leatu Latu. Dwight Freeney was on today and was going on and on about how good Leatu Latu is. And for a Hall of Fame level guy like Dwight Freeney to be talking that highly of Leatu Latu, the comparison was made to TJ Watt and the Bosa brothers. Like, that's nothing. I don't think that's overhype, especially for a small market team like the Indianapolis Colts. But we go back to the offense. The offense is already improving on a year where it was not good. On a year where they were dealing with injuries and they were dealing with different quarterbacks and they were dealing with Jonathan Taylor not being there, always coming in, coming out, not being able to really gain the momentum that we know he had, and then ending the season against the Texans with over 180 yards. I mean, this is something that I think the Colts should be excited about because I think that Shane Steichen in year 2 is going to take such a massive jump. And I totally disagree with the narrative that the Colts are going to be regression candidates. I think they're going to succeed and be very, very good. And they're dark horses to win a few playoff games. Like, legitimately, not even overhyping. There's already been talks of like Brandon Ayuk coming to the Colts. Don't want him. I truly believe this wide receiver core with Shane Steichen and Jim Bob Cooter and Reggie Wayne, like leading that front, I truly believe if Anthony Richardson is able to stay healthy, able to slide a little more, take a few less hits, I think that this team is going to be very, very good. And again, is a dark horse to win a few playoff games and really go deep into this season.